Welcome back in. They're known for creating Cabernet in a more acoustic style, one that highlights savory floral notes while keeping that signature Napa richness. Here to share more about Monroy Wines is winemaker Adolfo Hernandez. Adolfo, welcome to Live in the Bay.
It's so beautiful to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. Look, you're wearing a Cabernet suit and everything. Yeah. Perfect color. I like that because if you spill the wine, it won't show up. That's perfect.
It's a winemaker's trick.
Yes, winemaker's trick. I love it. Tell me a little bit about Monroy and what you do there.
So Monroy Wines is my personal brand. I focus on Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet. And like I said, acoustic style, I like to focus on savory floral notes in wines. Wines can be super fruity and rich and bold. That's not what I do here. Okay. I'm trying to make something that's more elegant, more classical in style. So when you smell my wines, you can get a lot of floral notes. You can get a lot of the herbaceousness that comes with a varietal, and it should taste like the earth it comes from.
Ooh, okay, so interesting. We have so much wine, of course. We're blessed in this region. We have such good variety, so many delicious things here. Tell me what we are tasting today.
So I brought my current leases. I brought my Sauvignon Blanc, which is slightly fermented inside of wood. A long time on lease for that signature richness and creaminess. And then I brought my flagship Cabernet Sauvignon.
I can't wait to taste them. Before we get to tasting, I want to hear your personal story. How did you get started? When did you start really getting into wine?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so mine's a typical story. Went to Saudi Arabia when I was 6 years old because my dad works for the airlines.
Wow.
And Saudi Arabia is a totally dry country, right? And my parents are super into cooking. They're great chefs. And like my dad says, you can't have a beautiful steak with a glass of water.
Right.
So we started making our own wine, and I call it wine.
Wow.
But it's just grape juice that was fermented in our bathroom, so it's a pretty poor excuse for wine.
Oh my gosh.
So we were in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, making our own kind of alcohol for the dinner table. I came back to California when I was 15, and I didn't know you could study winemaking as a career. I don't know if you grew up knowing that, but I thought you had to be like French or Italian, or like your family had to have vineyards or something, right?
Yeah, totally. It doesn't seem very accessible.
No, it seemed like this entirely like a fantasy type of thing.
Right.
So I went to Cal Poly, studied molecular biology, made pesticides for a while, and then on a whim, I was moving up to the Bay Area and moved for a different job, and a big winery offered me a job in their laboratory. And I took it at half the salary of what I was going to go for.
Oh.
And I've been so happy ever since.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great testament of doing what you love is totally worth it. So you said that you were in pesticides and biology before. So tell me, how did that transform into winemaking, and kind of what was your job?
So I started out running a laboratory. And so with the big winery, you may have heard of Clos du Bois back in the early 2000s. Making 2 million cases of wine, your science has to be impeccable to make wine at that level. And then I moved on slowly to smaller and smaller wineries. So it became less about being strict QA or strict scientist to more being an artist.
Very
And
cool.
as my palate developed, it just kind of meshed for me.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I want to get into tasting some of these wines. Which one should we start with today?
Let's start with the Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
So I was at Islay Vineyard for a long time in Napa with the Arajos and then Chateau Latour. Sauvignon Blanc is was one of our key varietals we made there. So this is Muscat Clone Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay. So should I swirl even with a white?
Always.
Always swirl. Okay.
Half the pleasure is smelling the wine.
Got to get a big whiff, right?
You get those florals.
Okay, tell me what I should be smelling and tasting.
You get exotic fruits like a tangerine peel, a little bit of Japanese guava. You're gonna feel a little bit of the vanilla from the oak fermentation.
Ooh.
So think of like a key lime pie, and there's that little crust.
I love
That's the oak. It's not there to be the star of the show. It's there to deliver that fruit. You're gonna get that creaminess from the time on lees and the acidic spine that holds it all together.
Oh, that's so delicious. I want to see how you taste it so that I can, so I can make sure I'm doing it the right way. Okay,
so a little
give me
swirl.
lesson. A swirl.
My pinky's out.
Oh, pinky's out. Got to get it right.
A little bit of air in the mouth, and just let it sit.
Ah, so nice. Lovely.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the red. What should we expect here?
So Cabernet Sauvignon, this is the whole reason I started the brand.
Yeah.
Most people make Cabernet inside of tanks or plastic bins if you're small.
Okay.
But what I learned, spent a little bit of time in Bordeaux, and so what I do is I take a wine barrel, I take the heads off the wine barrel, put the berries inside the wine barrel, close it, and then I roll it, just like you see there, to ferment. And there's me closing those barrels. So when you do it inside a barrel, think of like doing a steak with a sous vide. You get a different texture and body out of these wines. And I pick early because I love those floral, savory notes.
Yeah.
But so that the wine doesn't turn hard and green, the fermentation in barrel gives it a different texture and density.
Wow, so cool. Okay, let's taste the red.
So we're gonna smell this.
Okay. Oh, that smells really yummy.
Floral, savory. You get a little bit of pomegranate, the rose petals.
And what should we taste?
Go for it.
You can't do it without making the funny noise, or else you're not doing it right. That's what I've learned.
You gotta get a little slurp.
So smooth. That is delicious. These are so, so good.
Beautifully textured wines from the barrel ferment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing today. Where can people check you out if they'd like to try?
Come see me this weekend, Half Moon Bay Wine and Jazz Festival. I'll be pouring there with my wife. We'll be pouring all these varietals, all these bottles. Come support small wineries like us that are just husband and wife teams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Adolfo, so fun to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us on Live in the Bay.
Pleasure.